Today I have a major announcement and I can't wait to share this exciting news with you. Hi sweet friends, I'm Mary and welcome to Mary's Nest, where I teach traditional cooking skills for making nourishing foods like bone broth, ferment, sourdough, and more. So if you enjoy learning how to be a modern pioneer in the kitchen, consider subscribing to my channel and don't forget to click on the little notification bell below. That'll let you know every time I upload a new video. When I started my YouTube channel, I had such a desire to teach everyone that I could come in contact with to make traditional foods. But I never imagined that there would be so many of you who wanted to learn these skills. And what was even more thrilling to me was how many of you contacted me and said not only were you learning, you were teaching others, and you were especially teaching young people, because keeping these skills alive for future generations is so important to me. And in addition to everything that I teach here on my YouTube channel, many of you have put in requests for something more. And so I'm very excited to share with you that I've written a cookbook, the Modern Pioneer Cookbook. And my cookbook is being published by Random House for their DK imprint. And if you're at all familiar with DK books, you know that they're beautiful. And this book is truly a beautiful book. And it's so much more than a cookbook. This is a manual for how to create a traditional foods kitchen, for how to be a modern pioneer in the kitchen. It's filled with all the techniques that you need to begin making traditional foods. This is a manual that will allow you to become self-sufficient and create as close as possible to a no-waste kitchen. And something that's so wonderful about the Modern Pioneer Cookbook is that the techniques and the recipes have been tested by a professional recipe tester, so you know they're going to come out perfect every time. Now my cookbook, the Modern Pioneer Cookbook, is available for pre-order at all the major book retailers, and I'll be sure to put the link in the description as well as in the pinned comment. And I know you're going to love this book because, as I said, this is filled with all the techniques that we've been learning together, but now you have everything right in your manual that you can keep on your kitchen bookshelf. And I make it very easy for you and I walk you through everything step by step. And there's so much more information that I was able to include in this book that I've ever been able to include on my YouTube channel. And I have to share a little something with you that I'm so happy about, that my editor, who is just a wonderful, wonderful man, was so pleased with the writing that I was giving to him for this cookbook that the page count was expanded twice. And this cookbook is over 300 pages long. So not only is it a cookbook, this is a manual filled with all the techniques that you need for your traditional foods kitchen. Now I want to go over the table of contents with you to give you some indication of everything that you're going to be able to learn from the Modern Pioneer Cookbook. But I want to share a little bit with you about the experience that I had in not only writing this cookbook, but in cooking for it and having it photographed. In the writing of the Modern Pioneer Cookbook, I share with you my personal journey with traditional foods. I talk about my parents, my husband, our son, and hopefully you will enjoy learning more of the details of my personal traditional foods journey. I also share a lot of information with you about what I call the Four Corners Pantry. Your working pantry, what you access every day, your refrigerator, your freezer, as well as your extended pantry, or what we nickname the prepper pantry, and how to fully stock these pantries, and then also how to equip your kitchen, your traditional foods kitchen, little by little, what you need to get started, some of the basics, and it's not a big fancy list of things. I gradually work you through the tools and equipment that are helpful for making traditional foods. And as time goes on and you become more experienced at making traditional foods and you become more comfortable with certain types of foods that you like to make, I talk about the types of equipment that at that point you want to consider adding to your traditional foods kitchen. And what I loved about writing the Modern Pioneer Cookbook is the whole cookbook is devoted to the traditional foods journey. The book in itself is a journey because we start with very simple things, and as we learn those skills, we move to the more advanced things. So you can work your way through this book little by little by little, and then always have it on your kitchen bookshelf to refer back to. And one of the most fun parts of working on the Modern Pioneer Cookbook was the fact that my editor, along with a wonderful photographer and an absolutely lovely food stylist, came to my home right here in my kitchen. I would cook the food stylist would make it look pretty, and the photographer would take the picture, and my editor would approve it. And it was all going on right here in my kitchen. So you know that the food that you see photographed in my cookbook are mostly foods that I was cooking right here and that they were photographing right here on my kitchen table. These three wonderful people were here for about a week, and you're going to see lots of lovely pictures in the book that are taken right here in my kitchen of me working at my island, food here on my kitchen table, and I think you're going to really enjoy seeing all of these very real, very in my kitchen pictures. Now, as I worked my way through this book, I really tried to take you on the traditional foods journey in a very methodical, very clear, very easy way so that you would never feel overwhelmed. And I hope that what you've come to enjoy on my YouTube channel will come through in my writing of this book. I reassure you time and time again that we're home cooks, we're home bakers. Nothing needs to be perfect. Nothing needs to be like we're running a restaurant or we're running a bakery. All we need to do is the best that we can do and learn these skills little by little, and ourselves, our family, our friends, we're all going to enjoy eating these foods and nourishing ourselves best we can. Well, I just want to give you a little insight to all of the different chapters that you're going to find in the Modern Pioneer Cookbook. Chapter 1, I talk all about the pantry and equipping your traditional foods kitchen, as I shared a little earlier. And then I move through, little by little, the basic main topics that you really want to start to master, the things that I call the backbone of the traditional foods kitchen. And of course, you know, the first thing I'm going to do is teach you a really easy way to roast a chicken. Then we're going to move on to bone broths, and then we're going to learn how to render fats. We've got a chapter here on the homemade dairy, where I not only cover culturing dairy, I also cover how to make stovetop cheeses, which are nice and easy. And I know everybody doesn't have access to raw milk, but for those of you who do, I haven't forgot about you, and I share with you how to clabber it. And if you've never had clabbered raw milk, you're gonna love it. From the homemade dairy, I move on to pickling and fermenting. So we start with some easy pickling recipes, and then we move on to learning how to become really good, really skilled at knowing how is the best way to ferment vegetables. From pickling and fermenting, we move on to a chapter called the Home Baker. And in this chapter, I make things very easy for you, especially at the very beginning of the chapter if you're a new baker. We start with a very simple Pioneer bread, then we move on to a little bit more of a sophisticated but still easy sandwich bread, and then from there we talk about making our sourdough starter. And I share so many tips and tricks with you for how to get your sourdough starter really bubbly and working well for you. And then we work up to making sourdough bread. And I also share with you a number of wonderful recipes on what to do with your sourdough discard. And for those of you who have asked me to share more recipes about soaking and sprouting, I've got you covered. I show you how to soak and sprout grain, how to make sprouted flour, and then how to take that sprouted flour and make a sprouted flour bread. I also share techniques for soaking beans and soaking nuts, and also how to make traditional, we're talking the real deal here, traditional oat milk. You've had nothing like it, and I think you're going to really love that. Next, I move on to another chapter called Condiments and Flavor Boosters. And I love this chapter because this is the chapter that helps you make so many building blocks, so to speak, homemade, so that you can stop buying all those prepackaged, pre-prepared foods like salad dressings and mustards and ketchup. You're going to learn how to make a whole host of homemade salad dressings, along with homemade mayonnaise and homemade fermented mustards, fermented ketchup, a whole host of things, herbal salts, nourishing seasonings. You're going to love this chapter. Now that's just up to chapter 8. The book has a total of 14 chapters, and as I move forward into chapter 9, I talk all about and show you how to make traditional superfoods. Things like liver that's actually tasty and that even kids will eat. I show you how to roast bone marrow and turn it into something that's delicious with like a gremolata type topping. I've got additional chapters, one of which I call Good Bug Beverages, where I show you how to make probiotic rich drinks that are absolutely delicious and so refreshing and yet so good for you, and can be made very easily and used to replace other sodas or carbonated beverages that you've been buying at the grocery store. I've also got chapters on home canning as well as preserving foods with drying. And in the home canning chapter, I walk you through step by step with everything that you need to become a good home canner. So if that's something that's new to you, but that you really want to incorporate into your traditional foods kitchen, then this is the chapter for you. I don't leave anything out. I walk you through one step at a time, and it's all in printed format for you to make everything very easy to follow. And when it comes to drying foods, I share a lot of options. You don't always need to have a dehydrator. You have various options that are both air drying as well as oven drying. So no matter where you are on your journey learning how to dry foods and then use them in recipes, this is going to help you out. I even share with you how easy it is to dry your own sourdough starter and then store it in your pantry as a backup in case anything ever goes wrong with the sourdough starter that you're using on a regular basis. And not only do I show you how to dry it, I show you how to reconstitute it and get it back to bubbling and ready to bake with. I've also got a chapter on where you take the foods that you've learned how to make throughout this book and now want to make traditional meals with. And I've got some wonderful recipes for meals that I know you're going to really enjoy, as well as your family and friends will enjoy. Plus, I couldn't leave out a chapter on sweets and treats. This is wonderful because I show you how easy it is to bake and create really lovely tasting and light baked goods using whole grain flours as well as whole sweeteners. And I even share with you how to make a Pioneer wedding cake. And throughout the Modern Pioneer cookbook, my focus is always on using everything we bring into our kitchen and really trying our best to always create as close to a no-waste kitchen as possible. We use every single scrap throughout this book. And even in the recipe on sweets and treats, I show you how to use some of your little scraps to make a delightful dessert. So be sure to check the links in the description and in the pinned comment below so that you can pre-order your copy of the Modern Pioneer Cookbook. And it is available for pre-order even outside of the United States. I want to thank you so much for being on this traditional foods journey with me. You have no idea how much joy this whole experience of getting to know you has brought me. And the comments and the emails that I receive from you are so heartwarming. And I especially enjoy all the cards and letters that you've sent me. I wish I could respond to every single one. And even though I can't, I do want to share with you a note that I recently received. And I want you to also know that going forward, I'm going to share more of the notes that I've received from you. This is such a lovely note, and it's an example of all of the lovely notes that I receive. When you write to me, you are always so loving and so kind, and it really touches my heart. And I wanted to share this with you. It's from a lovely lady named Tracy, and she says, "Dear Mary, I just wanted to write to say hi and let you know that I love watching your YouTube videos." Hi, Tracy. Prior to finding you on the internet, I had purchased the Nourishing Traditions cookbook by Sally Fallon. You all know that I love Nourishing Traditions by Sally Fallon, and I talk about her book a lot. I found you when I was searching the internet to find more how-to videos for traditional foods cooking. I love your optimism and your sunny disposition. I really hope that I do bring that to my videos. I try to always, I'm naturally very optimistic, and I hope that I bring that and it comes through in my videos so that I can help lift everyone's spirits and lift everyone up. I love your optimism and your sunny disposition. I grew up mostly eating the standard American diet, so the traditional foods cooking is very new to me. And this is why I started my YouTube channel. It was so important to me, as I mentioned at the very beginning of this, to be able to teach what my mother had taught me and what her mother had taught her, and to keep these traditional skills alive, especially specifically these traditional cooking skills, these traditional kitchen skills, to keep these alive so that we can be self-sufficient and feed ourselves, our family, our friends, with nourishing foods, with real foods, and not rely so much on pre-prepared or packaged foods, but to be self-sufficient and to learn also not to waste and to make use of every little last scrap. My mother and father lived through the Great Depression, as I've shared with you in the past. They lived through the shortages and rationing of World War II. I never saw my mother waste anything in the kitchen. And we all need to remember that. We need to develop those skills and to keep that alive and continue to teach others so that we never lose these traditional food skills, not only making foods and preparing them properly, but also maximizing what we use and really limiting waste. The closer we can get to a zero or no waste kitchen, the better. And she goes on to say, I am a homeschooling mother of 3 children, and so I really enjoyed the video you made with your son. You can tell that you and your son have a special bond. And yes, we really do. I love my son so much. I had him later in life. He's just such a blessing. And we never thought of homeschooling, but if you've ever seen that video that I've shared in the past, Benjamin was diagnosed with dyslexia in kindergarten, and he struggled tremendously. And back then, he's a grown man now, and back then, at least where we were and the school we were at, didn't have the setup to help him. And I had hired a reading therapist to start helping him, and while he was in kindergarten, and in the latter part of the day, and she suggested that I consider homeschooling, and even the school said, we're really not set up to help him come first grade. And so that's how we came to homeschooling, and I just have to say it was one of the most wonderful experiences that I ever had, and I think it's what really created the special bond between my son and I. And I thought that was very sweet, Tracy, that you observed that in the video that Ben and I made together. She says, Tracy goes on to say, I especially loved laughing when you shared your stories of homeschooling and sharing your traditional foods with your son. Yes, my son has some very cute comments about traditional foods. In the kitchen, I have made some fermented cabbage, beets, pickles, and chicken broth. This past winter, we grew some cabbage and Brussels sprouts. I was so excited to be able to ferment our own sauerkraut. I just think that's so cute. I would like to give you the credit for my home canning and preserving. Well, Tracy, thank you very much, but it's really all you. And as I said, this is why I wanted to do this channel, and this is why I'm so happy now that I was given the opportunity by Random House to write this cookbook so that we can all now have this hard copy that lasts forever. This never goes away, no matter what happens to the internet in the future. Hopefully I'll always be here for a while and making videos and continuing to teach. But what's so wonderful is we always have this hard copy, this reference, this manual filled with techniques, not only recipes. That's why this is such a unique book. It's so much more than a cookbook. It's filled with all the techniques that we need to create our traditional foods kitchen. So she goes on to say, your how-to videos, and it's funny, my videos are very how-to, and it's cute because sometimes I do get comments, they go, wow, this is very long. But that was always my goal, to make very detailed how-to videos to help everyone, no matter where they were on their traditional foods journey, whether they were at the very beginning and needed a lot of step-by-step, or they were a little farther along on their journey and would enjoy a little review of the step-by-step, but then enjoyed all of and could learn from all of the additional details I shared in these longer form videos. So it's a class, basically. And so I'm really glad that Tracy, that you enjoyed the how-to videos. Your how-to videos gave me the confidence to tackle those home preserving projects. Well, that makes me very happy. I also loved watching the videos where you talk about your parents. Your mother sounds absolutely lovely. I even wrote down her quote, God is in his heaven and all is right with the world. And that really is something very true that my mother would always say during difficult times. And both she and my father lived through many difficult times, but they always pulled together. And my mother always worked very hard, as did my dad, and they managed to get through anything. And I share some of those stories with you in the Modern Pioneer cookbook, so I think you'll enjoy that. I will remember that gem when I feel stressed by the challenges of life. Yes, my mother really helped me many a time get through stressful periods and challenges in life. She's 98 years old, and she has a lot of wonderful wisdom to share. Thanks so much for being a light in the world. May God bless you and your adorable family. Sincerely, Tracy. Well, Tracy, thank you very much for this note, and thank you to all of you who have sent me emails, left me beautiful comments, sent me beautiful cards and letters. I want you to know that even though I can't respond to everyone, how it touches my heart to read some of the things that you have shared with me. Being on this journey together, even learning together, I learn something new every day in my traditional foods kitchen, and I know you do too. And being on this journey together has made this so worthwhile. And as I had said earlier, when you share with me that you're teaching others, whether it's your children or your sisters and brothers or your own mom even sometimes, or your neighbors, friends, whatever the case may be, the fact that we are all learning as well as teaching, I know that the traditional foods movement is going to stay alive, and that these traditional techniques are not going to be lost. They're going to be preserved for future generations. And that brings me so much joy to know that we're helping, as a team really, we are helping others to become more self-sufficient in their kitchen, to be modern pioneers in the kitchen, to create a traditional foods kitchen, to make real food, and to limit waste. We really can't ask for anything more than that. So be sure to pre-order your copy of the Modern Pioneer Cookbook. And if you're new on this journey, click on this video over here, where I have a full playlist to get you started from bone broth and beyond. And I'll see you over there in my Texas Hill Country Kitchen. Love and God bless.